pretty advanced.
Yeah, and you feel it. It wants to
Go
go
forward. Welcome back to a new video brought to you by the Spadone project. Here is Nick and Julian. Today we are in the SKKG Foundation in Winterthur, Switzerland, and we are checking an interesting one-handed sword. It was actually excavated, but before delving into the description of this weapon, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can support us on Patreon. You find the link in the description. It's just some euro every month. You can support and let us going on with the research. So, Julian, if you want, let's get into this.
Yes. As you said, we have a one-handed sword. It seems to be from the 1530s, 40s, with that type of plate up there, more 40s, 50s
Yeah.
probably. They are often connected to Upper Italy, and then they found their way to Switzerland. In the Swiss National Museum in Zurich, they have several of these. I think they lost a bit of the blade in some cases, but overall, same type of hilt. Also, I know of private collections having some of these. With a typical pommel, which I wanted to point out first, is spherical.
Pretty much. You see.
And has a decoration, some grooves, lines.
Looks like a shell.
Yeah, like a shell a bit.
Yes.
You see them also in literature in the Robert Forer catalog, some of these. Peen looks good. We have a knuckle guard, which is slightly broken in one place, but overall fine. We have finger rings, a very small écusson.
Yes.
And here this hook going upwards.
What's that actually?
You often see that actually. I think gives some extra protection. I don't know if it is to hold it in some place. Never thought about it, so I'm not going to do that now. On the other side, we have the loop closing and the plate again protecting the hand. It's heavy. It's 1,500 grams. It's also quite long. I personally think it's fine because the pommel rests against my palm. But light is something else. We have a blade that has a lenticular.
Yes, pretty thick.
Pretty thick.
I mean, if compared to other we have seen, if I consider the width of the blade, seems pretty thick.
Yeah. It has a fuller running from actually back to the ricasso until approximately here. From the cross section, it's still very stabby as well. Like there's enough mass, as you pointed out. Length, I don't know by heart. You would need to check that. So close to 120, and the blade
is 1 meter point 06.
Yes. The point of balance is fairly out.
Yes, is 15.5 centimeters.
From the crossguard. So from
pretty
here.
Advanced.
Yeah. And you feel it. It wants to
go forward.
We see it actually also in woodcuts and art, or similar at least style-wise, with Landsknecht depictions. Also some portrait paintings from the 1540s, 50s sometimes show similar hilts. I think it was Norman, when he made his typology, that pointed this out to the portrait paintings. But woodcuts, you sometimes see them having
Yeah,
it
I
here.
was just wondering how they came to the typical Landsknecht Katzbalger, and if you want, you can check some of the video we made about them in the description. I mean, they are pretty short if compared to a lot of other weapons. They seems to have a reason for that, and I think of pikes formation. So a lot of people around, not necessarily really tight
Yeah.
information, because we know from military treatises that was not really the case, at least not every time.
Yes.
And in that case, of course, having a short weapon, maybe with a little bit of rounded tip, would be good for limiting hindrance. In this case, apparently at some point, at least in some areas of Germany, Landsknecht began to shift to something like this.
I think also you see it, I mean, when you're not on the battlefield, it's for representation. So all these people that you see on the portraits are higher-ups. In the woodcuts, it's not in battle, as far as I remember. I wonder if I would find something similar even in Mattäus Schwarz book. Him carrying something like this. Yes. I'm not sure, so this was a shot in the blue, but maybe there is. But there, like later, as we say, side swords or rapiers,
Yes.
same thing. And
So it might be that even from artworks you recognize something in Landsknecht apparel, might not imply that the context is related to strictly warfare. So in other situation, you might have found someone that preferred something like this, maybe more elegant.
yes. Yeah, besides the weight, I like it. I like the style, I have to say. Yeah, it's quite pretty. And so far, I would say it's legit. It's sometimes problematic with the collection.
We said was excavated, right? But
says
we do not
excavated.
exactly know though.
We do not know where. And yeah, these are rust spots. It's not the blade. Also, the grain structure is visible in some straits. So it doesn't mean necessarily it is original, but what I've seen in Zurich, and they have 4 or 5, is pretty close to this. So it's quite believable.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
I think everything has been mentioned.
I would just point out one more thing about the other Katzbalgen we have measured.
Yeah.
I see interesting that the longest one, if I remember correctly, which was the one from North Italy style, was the one with the further point of balance. Was it right?
Yeah, slightly, yes.
So again, we have a sword that in some way evolved and got closer to that kind of context, and is again with the point of balance really far from the crossguard.
Yeah.
But maybe, of course, just
I mean, also,
free thinking.
also the hilt is missing, so the point of balance would be a tiny bit closer,
Yeah.
not that far, but also
I mean,
not 10 centimeters closer.
course.
So yes, true.
okay, that's fine. If you want, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for following video in the next future. You can support us on Patreon if you want. Again, you find the link in the description. Thank you for watching the video, and we see you for the next one. Bye.
Bye.